Hello, and welcome to episode 347 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Jordan Willis.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest joining on the program today. Welcome back to the show, the wonderful XanaGear. How's it going?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very good.
Great.
Had a good weekend. Went to Epcot.
Whoa!
Sounds amazing.
My life, you know.
Well, thanks XanaGear for joining us. Today we're going to be doing an episode about Nintendo Vaporware. We're going to do a tier list ranking of all of the Nintendo Vaporware that we could come up with, some of the most popular ones and stuff like that. I'm sure there's many more that we'll never know about. But before we get into all that, man, it's been a crazy, explosive news week. Like so many things happening all over the place. The PS5 got a really big price increase starting the day after this podcast releases. Epic laid off over 1,000 employees. We got some more financial news from Nintendo, including like a differentiation in pricing for digital and physical games, as well as a potential decrease in the output of Switch 2s. But really, before we get into all of that news and the tier list, how are y'all doing? How's y'all's past weeks?
Yeah, you left off the giant natethehate drop as well, which we have to get to.
It's a little fun, going to be a little surprise.
Tune in, more at 7. I'm really excited to talk canceled video games with you guys today. I love going down metaphysical rabbit holes of branching timelines where these games actually released. But yeah, I'm having a pretty good time myself. I just saw a ton of movies this past week. I think I saw like a movie in theaters like pretty much every day this last week, including yesterday. And then a friend invited me out to another movie that night, and I was like, bro, I'm movied out. I can't do this anymore. Next movie I'm seeing will be the day this episode comes out, which will be the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, other than that, I've been chilling, going on walks, getting some exercise, having a pretty good time. What about you, XanaGear? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I watched a movie this weekend. I watched Nirvana the Band, the show, the movie.
Good. That's a good movie.
It was such a delight. I can't believe I was already a big fan of Nirvana the Band, the show since, I don't know, like 2010 or something, but the movie just floored me. I was so happy through the whole thing. I recommend it to anyone between the age of 28 and 50. And if you're anywhere outside that range, I think the movie might not land for you at all.
It is a very millennial film. Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. What about you, Jordan? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. This past weekend, we had a yard sale, which was pretty successful. David, thanks for stopping by. Of
course.
Before you're seeing whatever feature film, I can't remember what you saw.
It was the AI documentary.
Oh, yeah.
I've got opinions on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back on your letterbox and see what those opinions are. We'll talk about that later. That's a whole side story. I also went to Hyperreal Film Club for the first time. A music video that I produced back in 2024 was picked they did a short music video festival and short film festival, and it was picked for that. And so I went to go hang out with that and meet some other filmmakers and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
And yesterday we just took it easy though, because it was just like too much over the weekend. And we watched The Puffy Chair for the first time.
Great stuff.
Mumblecore.
Austin classic. Yeah.
Also, like, I don't want to start too much shit with Mark Duplass, but like, is he a bad person? Like,
he certainly is in that movie.
I feel like most of the characters that he plays are like bad people. It just makes me question.
I've met Mark Duplass only once, and it's when I was like in line to get a badge at South by Southwest, and he seemed normal then.
Okay,
but
cool.
He was not yet beat down by the immensity of the festival, I suppose.
I have seen interviews with him, and he seems like a relatively like normal, nice person. But like all of his characters, like we watched both of the Creeps. We haven't watched the Creep tapes, but we watched that. I watched the fantasy football show that he was on, The League, and like he's kind of a little bit of a jerk in that. And then this as well, where he's like all the characters are insufferable in this movie, except for the dad.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to formally invite Mark Duplass on the show. Mark, we know you're listening. You're welcome anytime to find out if you're an asshole or not.
That was a tangent. David, take it over.
No, yeah, it's all good. I'm very glad to hear. Man, we all were just men of cinema this past week, which is very, very nice to see. But we are going to switch up and talk about video games, or at least most of the show here today. And before we get into the news, I'd like to give a couple quick shout outs, or actually really just one shout out from last week's episode. We did an episode all about Nintendo finally listening to their fans with the release of Boost Mode on the Switch 2 hardware. Jeremy Franklin was on that show. It was a really great episode. If you haven't listened to that one yet, definitely do. But in our Discord, Shade said, I was beginning to think I was the only Switch head dabbling with Marathon. We did bring up Marathon. Jeremy had Jeremy's Marathon corner at the end of the episode, and that sparked a whole bunch of great conversation. Marathon is like a pretty interesting game, and I keep wondering if I'm going to start it or not, and then I have to remind myself I don't like games like that.
Yeah, I'm like, you would hate that.
Yeah, I do like games like that, and I'm not even playing Marathon. I mean, I played Arc Raiders for like 150 hours, but Marathon, I played the beta, and I probably should play it, but I don't have time. I don't have time.
We are blessed with an abundance of choice, and we can turn down what we want to. That's what being an adult's all about. But anyway, thank you very much, Shade. And if you would like to be shouted out next week on the episode, drop us a line. A great place to do that is to leave a comment on the YouTube version of the show. We do the video version. If you can leave a comment down below, we'll be sure to shout you out next week, or hit us up over on social media, someplace like that, where we do reels and shorts on like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok now. Leave a comment over there. We'll be sure to shout you out. And if you could, while you're over there on the YouTube, like and subscribe. I feel like the YouTube channel's picking up steam every single day. We'd love to have your patronage over there, and tell a friend about the show if you could. We'll have more information about places you can reach us at the end of this program. But I think with all that out of the way, we should get into the news. Because like you said, Jordan, it is one hell of a news week. We are going to get started right off the bat here with a pretty big change in the way that Nintendo is pricing their games. The upcoming Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, as we talked about on last week's episode, is going to be a $60 game. But that is when you buy it in the eShop. It seems that the MSRP of Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is going to be $70, and Nintendo put out a kind of, I guess, press packet thing, basically saying that going forward, games will have, different pricing between digital and physical. As a digital-only person, this is good for me. I feel pretty happy about this. I'm certainly not complaining right now. But it does beg a question. And I think that question is, are we going to be seeing more $80 games to justify a $70 digital version in the eShop? Will we finally see that fabled $90 game that people on the internet keep saying exists for the Switch? We have to see about that, but I want to get y'all's opinion on it. XanaGear, what do you think about this new pricing change for Nintendo?
I think it makes a lot of sense with the cost of shipping stuff to a store, with the cost of making those special cards. And even my friend who has over 400 physical Switch games is like, yeah, I'll pay the tax on buying more physical stuff. I mean, it makes total sense. I welcome being able to save $10 as a digital purchaser myself.
Yeah, I agree.
This is just how it should be. Like, there's no question in my mind. I'm like, I've always found it really frustrating that digital and physical copies cost the exact same amount of money, because it's just like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, they're making way more money selling more digital copies, but like passing on none of the savings to the consumer. So I think this is just positive, and I'm really hoping that this kind of like becomes more of a trend on Xbox and PlayStation, because I'm like, half the time on PlayStation, they're just putting a disc in a box. Discs are cheap, boxes are relatively cheap, and then you have to download the game anyway. So it's just like, what are we doing here, man? Like, why are you charging me the exact same amount? Like, I'm more than willing, like XanaGear was saying, like, to pay a little bit extra for the physical aspect of it. And also, like, the cartridges are more expensive than the discs. Like, so I totally get that. So this should just be like industry standard.
Yeah, and physical is going to probably be a premium collector's item exclusive market anyway, eventually.
Totally.
Yeah, this is definitely, to me, this is like Nintendo kind of slowly, gently pushing people away from physical, right? And I think it's good that they're not just doing away with it altogether. This does kind of also beg a question about if this is related at all to those rumors we've been hearing about, different sized carts being manufactured to kind of do away with the game key card thing, because that's another controversy altogether, right? Like, are you going to be wanting to pay $10 more for a game key card? That doesn't really seem super fair, but you're right. I mean, there's like, with the Strait of Hormuz closed, it's like, making, just the plastic for the stuff requires oil, and like the price of that is all obviously going up. So there's all these different factors here. This also kind of very much feels like Nintendo will do anything to keep the price of the Switch 2 from going up right now.
Yeah,
it seems like
that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, they are really, really trying to avoid that. And I think that this is a pretty good alternative. And I really do hope that this means like, Yoshi is not just a budget game and that like games that were 70 will now be 60 digital, right? I think Nintendo has kind of alluded to the fact that that is the case, but we haven't really gotten outright clarification. I doubt we ever really will. There'll always be that excuse to do some price variability, especially when it's on the higher end. But very interesting stuff. We kind of called it also. That's all I'll say about that. But we'll move on to our next bit of news. And this involves more news about Switch sales, but this time with the hardware. Last week, we talked about how Switch 2 was far outselling the Switch 1, and that is still the case at this point. A lot of those sales are mainly coming from Japan at the moment. I would say at least it's selling fastest in that country. But it does seem that because of the weaker holiday season, Nintendo's going to be cutting down its output in the United States by about 30%. I don't know that this is worth ringing any alarm bells. I don't know if this had any effect on the like stock in the stock market for Nintendo, but it is kind of interesting, those two data points being at odds with each other, right? This also just makes me think that there are just already a ton of Switch 2s over here already in, NOA warehouses and whatnot, just sitting there ready to go. So the fact that they'll be shipping less over here to meet demand at this time doesn't seem like the worst idea. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this?
It's almost like there's something really weird going on in this country at this point in time. The unemployment rate is rising. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I feel like there's just a lot more tariffs and that price getting passed on to the consumers and people really evaluating if they have the money for a new system, especially if say like you already have a Switch and you already have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox or Series X. Like, do I just spend the money on games on that they're still being released and put out? Or do I buy this new thing? It's like, I think we have the privilege of being able to purchase this system, but it's like, I feel like a lot of people in this country don't. And I think Nintendo maybe didn't know how bad that was going to go over here. But I am more surprised that it's selling so well in Japan. Which is good. They're kind of like covering that, but
they have the cheaper version over there too, like the Japanese only version that they have. And I'm sure that's, doing wonders for them right now as the yen is so weak.
Yeah. But just like, can't say I'm like that surprised that the US holiday season was weaker than expected.
Yeah.
I don't know. The game output is not up to that mass market. There's not that one game except Mario Kart, which word of mouth on Mario Kart is gonna hit everyone's ears as like, oh, it's not as good as Mario Kart 8, etc.
Weirdly, it seems like Pokopia is the big like FOMO game right now.
That's the one that got me to pull out my Switch 2 and play it for 100 hours this week. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, I want to see that island, man. I don't know. This is interesting to see. This is part 2 of 5 of some pretty dire economic news that we'll be talking about. But it's worth keeping an eye on. I imagine that by the time the holiday season comes back, there will be a lot more games out that people want to Switch 2 for, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the news. Let's move on for right now to talk about some price increases elsewhere in the industry. This is now the second time that PlayStation 5 has gotten a price increase. I know the price went up about $50 at first. Now it's gone up $100. So you're looking at now for a base PS5, the new price is $649.99, which is just insane for a console that is now 6 years old, right? We are now in the era where being an early adopter is the way to save money. Which was pointed out by John Cartwright on Blue Sky, and I found that to be quite interesting. Everything has gone up, not just the base PS5 digital edition, which originally launched at $400, is now $600. PS5 Pro is now up to a whopping $900 in the US. PlayStation Portal has gone up to $250. It's just a wacky world out there. I don't want to sound like a boomer, but I remember when the GameCube was like $99.
$99.
Like 2 years after it came out.
Yeah.
Long gone are those days. We've talked, already this episode about the many economic reasons why this might be. Do you guys have anything to add to this? I mean, this is pretty shocking news.
I just don't know how you can justify spending $900 on a console with like 3 games that you want to play on it. I can't believe that.
Right.
Buy a Steam Deck and hook it up to your TV. I don't know.
But if you can get a Steam Deck.
If you can get a Steam Deck, I guess. Ugh.
Yeah. What about you, Jordan?
I mean, at this point, it's like if you're going to spend $900 on something, spend $200 more and get a PC.
Yeah.
Like you can get a pretty decent pre-built PC now for $1,100, $1,200. So it's like, I don't see the point of even that. But I think what really is happening is I think Sony is trying to warm people up to the PS6 prices because like the PS6 prices are going to be similar to this. And I feel like they don't want that shock, that sticker shock. And it feels like to me they're incrementally doing this so that when that does finally get announced, people aren't like, why is it so much more expensive than the PS5 was?
Yeah. Well, like $700 base for PS6 whenever that eventually
100%.
comes out. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. No question.
Oh my God. Life is crazy. I do wonder what this might mean for Steam Machine. Like people have been talking about when the Steam machines are dropping, the price being really expensive for those. I think that the PS5 base being $650 is going to make whatever the price tag is on the Steam machine feel a lot less bad, because originally we were like, oh yeah, 400, 500 would be nice. I think it's probably going to be at least 600 or 700 for that thing, right?
The RAM prices went down a bit today due to a bunch of stuff in the AI sphere. So RAM prices could go down a bunch, and the Nintendo might not even have to raise the price on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
At all if things normalize and the AI bubble finally pops. But
yeah,
we'll see.
We'll get to some of that in just a second. But before we do, let's talk about some layoffs. Our favorite topic to discuss on this show. Epic Games somehow is feeling some sort of pinch here and has laid off 1,000 employees. This is from all throughout their departments. Several, many people that were working on Fortnite have been let go, along with, I think, a lot of people that were working on the Epic Games Store. I think the Epic Games Store has not been a giant success for them. Who knew that giving all the games away for free was not a great way to get customers to buy things on your platform?
And making a platform that barely functions and gets 0 updates for 3 years.
Yeah. The main thing that I do with the Epic Game Store is I right click it and turn it off as it tries to auto start whenever I'm restarting my computer. That is my main interaction with the Epic Game Store. But yeah, so this is freaking horrible. I mean, there was a bunch of layoffs last week as well that we actually had to cut for time on our show, but this could just, this can't be avoided. This is massive. And I think, Tim Sweeney had this like really just tone deaf statement that he put out being like, wow, these 1,000 people are some of the hardest working, most qualified people. So everybody out there, these are your guys, definitely hire these guys. I'm like, well, you had them, man.
Yeah.
Why did you get rid of them if they were such hard workers? And it's not like, like maybe there was a little dip in player count or whatever on the newest Fortnites, but like it's still the biggest game in the world, and it's being played by more people than ever. They're multiple billion-dollar companies. So this is ridiculous to see. But Jordan, do you have any thoughts on a layoff of 1,000 people from Epic?
Yeah, it was funny. Last week, I think you said, like, hopefully next week we won't be reporting on Bungie laying off a bunch of employees.
Right.
And then you're like, you were right.
Yeah.
And the monkey paws curls. Anyway,
Yeah.
and so it was Epic instead. But yeah, man, it just like to me really showcases the difference. Like, and one of the reasons I like Nintendo is because whenever they have a hard time, it's like they take that and they don't just lay off a bunch of people. Like they have their coffers, and it's like, Epic has some massive coffers, like from Fortnite being so successful for like a decade.
Unreal Engine being
Unreal Engine in every video game,
and in every Hollywood movie at this point as well.
Yeah, and it's just to me really showcases the difference between different countries and how they operate and the companies within them. And I always thought too is like so weird whenever like Epic was trying to basically make an Adobe similar thing, because they bought like they have the Unreal Engine. They also had bought in Bandcamp. So to me, I was like,
right.
Like it seemed like they were buying all these companies to try to like make like a similar to Adobe, where it's like a suite of programs and things to make like it easier for creators to make like video games and like licensed music and things like that. And I honestly was like, that's like honestly a pretty good idea. But I think they eventually sold Bandcamp, and I don't know. So to me, it's always just mismanagement, story as old as time, the people that end up suffering are not the people that make any of the decisions.
Yeah. I was seeing some people online say that this was a recession indicator, and I posted in our Discord. I'm like, people are saying that as if we're not already in a recession. And I think it was Swampy Southpaw that said, this is like getting chemo being having cancer indicator. It's like, I'd think so at that point. You know what I mean? It's like, it's getting pretty rough out there, but hopefully some of this can change. And I think this next news article might have a little bit of hope, because it seems like potentially the AI bubble is starting to burst, if not just slightly, because OpenAI recently said that they are closing their Sora app. Apparently, the Sora app, which was basically an AI slot machine where you could create vertical videos of completely AI-generated material, was losing them $1 million a day just to be in operation. Yep. Apparently, it had very small number of users as well. This has also meant that Disney is backing out of the OpenAI deal that they made to license some of their characters out for Sora. Now, obviously, when I first heard that, I was like, yes, this is great. This means that, the big media companies are finally catching wise. And then I dug into it a little bit more, and it seems like they're actually now just trying to make deals with other AI companies. So it definitely seems like AI, at least in some extent, is here to stay. But OpenAI being the biggest dog in the race right now and actually having some issues at home is a good thing. And like you said, I think following this news, we saw that, RAM prices started to drop. I think there were data centers that were then, these speculative sales of a lot of, this RAM that had been made for these data centers fell through. So, we're seeing the markets start to react to this news in a way that is kind of interesting to see. It gives me a little bit of hope, but I don't know enough about economics to really say. Do any of you want to weigh in on this? Any of your thoughts?
Yeah, don't get too excited, because one of the other reasons the RAM prices dropped is due to the research paper that went out that showed off a new big compression algorithm that makes it so AI is like 20 times more efficient.
Okay.
So they don't need as much data centers.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the closing of Sora is a good indicator that people don't like the Gen AI art slop as much as they might like the uses for software development and other things that it's
ChatGPT or something else like that. Yeah.
all that stuff that's like kind of less interesting than I don't know, the curing cancer in 100 years or whatever. The stuff that might actually come to fruition, but not all this art garbage.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan, what about you?
It was so dystopian to think that like Disney Plus or something in the future would just be like short form content made by Sora AI. So I am happy in that way that it's not, but I definitely was like, oh, Disney's just going to take that money elsewhere. I'm just like more confused. So it's like Disney committed $1 billion and it was costing $1 million a day. That's like 3 years question mark, right? Like roughly that they could have kept running. So I'm kind of curious if there are some other reasons than $1 million a day, because honestly, for a company valued as high as OpenAI is right now, it doesn't seem like that much money. So I don't have any support for this whatsoever, but I do have to wonder if there was just a lot of pending litigation coming through the pipeline that really like scared them, because that would be more of an issue, especially
for scared Disney. That's what you're saying?
No, scared OpenAI.
Right.
Yeah, just with the amount of copyright infringement going on. And I'm not a copyright expert by any means, but I imagine there's a lot of illegal things going on there. So I don't know.
I don't know. I am not as charitable as you in that regard. I don't think they give a fuck about copyright. I don't think that,
it's all copyright infringement.
No, but they give a fuck about how much those lawsuits are going to cost them down the line.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if you're at a point where you're like operating an app for like, at least a few months where it's losing $1 million a day, it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just think that this to me reads like just more of the tech industry throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks, but the spaghetti is like the most expensive piece of food that you could ever possibly imagine. They just have all these unlimited funds to like try and fail at all this shit. Of course,
it's all a dream. It's just all a dream right now.
It's speculation.
The money is not going to come ever, and it's all a dream, and they're just spending it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah. Money has never been more fake than it is right now. It is truly remarkable what we are able to do in this fucked up world. We'll have to see. I do know that Disney, apparently they only knew, I think it was like an hour before Sora closed, that it was closing. And so they swiftly pulled out, I think, after that. So I don't know. I'm going to continue to have a little bit of hope. I think you saying that they figured out some way to compute a lot of this stuff in a much more efficient way. If this shit is going to be around, I think it not sucking up all the water on Earth is probably pretty good. I read a book recently where all the data centers in the future were built in orbit because a lot colder in space than it is on Earth. So, hey, maybe we could do that. Get it off the fucking planet.
Let's add more trash into space.
Yeah, I'd rather there than in the atmosphere. That's all I'll say. I'd love to drink clean water again. Yeah. Yeah. That's the plot of Elio, actually. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next bit of news. And we're finally out of our dire financial talk, because now we can talk about what everybody wants to talk about, which are fucking me's, baby. Tomodachi Life, living the dream.
They're back.
They are so back. I am a huge me fan. We have never been more back if you are a me head. I was a huge fan of the Miitomo app for the phones, and Tomodachi Life is very much the spiritual successor to that. The demo has dropped on Switch 1 right now, and you basically can start your island, which will then move over to the full game. And I think you can have a maximum of 3 Miis in your island during the demo. Just as a little bit of a PSA, I think as soon as you build the clothing shop and have your Mii like buy their first piece of clothing, apparently they become lobotomized and are like, I'll do more whenever the full game comes out. So just a little bit of a PSA to, I guess, not buy clothes for your Mii at this time if you're trying to play until the full game comes out. But I've been having a blast so far. Right now, it's just me and John Lennon on my island, but we're having a good time. He was like, David, do you want to talk about taking LSD? I was like, yes. So it's really great. There is no swear filter at all in this game. You can have them say literally whatever you want.
So funny.
Yeah. What do you think about this, XanaGear? Are you excited for Tomodachi Life?
I'm so excited. I actually never played the 3DS game. I watched videos of it. I know all about it, but I never played it. So I played the demo, and I made me and my partner. But I've already seen a bunch of videos online of some really fun some fun interactions.
Yeah, because you can do the drawing feature for the face. So I saw somebody make their face a dog's butt, and the butthole was the mouth that's opening and closing.
Perfect.
So that was really funny to me. Lots of cool shit you can do. Jordan, what about you? Do you think you're going to be picking this game up whenever it comes out?
No.
Really? This isn't for you? You're a me hater?
I'm not a me hater. I played Miitomo, and I think the appeal lasted about a week, and then I got really bored because it just became the same things and the same sayings over and over again, and I didn't love it. And I never played the 3DS game, so this is a game I think I'll be very content to watch other people play.
Interesting.
Than have to play myself. I need a little bit more interactivity. I need like an Animal Crossing or Pocopia, honestly, because I'm still like 50 hours into Pocopia and I'm still going strong. I'm still cleaning up my island. For me, there's not I don't know if there's enough meat on that bone. Like the social interactions don't stand out to me enough, and it's too close to Pocopia. Like if I didn't have Pocopia, I probably would pick this up, but it's just like at this point, maybe it's a later down the line thing after I see what's possible. I do worry that I am going to miss the no swear filter zone, because I think there.
You think eventually they're going to throw one in there?
They might. It is Nintendo. They do have. It's for children. I just feel like at some point they
not this fucking game. This game is
I don't know.
Demented, dog.
So I don't know, but yeah, I don't want to like yuck anyone's yum, but I'm just kind of like, I think I might let it pass me by and just watch other people play.
Interesting. Well, I'm definitely getting it, and it's funny because this isn't generally the kind of game that I really enjoy necessarily, but I do think it's quite a bit different from Pocopia, and it's really not so much about building up the city or terraforming or anything like that. And it's way more about the connections between people and people's relationships and whatnot. And you really are yourself. Like every once in a while, you see your own hands come in and like hand things to the to the Miis. It very much reminds me of like when you're playing as Duck Hunt Dog, or not even Duck Hunt Dog, you're playing as Duck Hunt, like the game, like you're kind of playing as yourself, holding the gun in Smash, right? As you're playing with that character in Smash. So very interesting stuff there. Some things to note, there are 0 online features for this game. I think that there will be local me sharing that you can do. So you can share locally, but you can't just share over the internet. I think that's because of all of the crazy shit that could be shared. I kind of understand that. And you can take videos and photos in it, which I have done already. They just don't allow you to upload them to the app. So I think as long as you have them on your Switch 2, you could just take the SD card out and transfer them that way. So there are workarounds to getting a lot of this stuff shared. And of course you can use OBS or something like that to share your screen, but I'm already having a ton of fun. I'm going to make all the Beatles. I think the next person I'm going to make is Vladimir Lenin, because I think it'd be funny if Lennon and Lennon were both on the same island. But other than that, we'll move on right now. We're going to be talking all about that game whenever it releases in April, but let's move on to a game that did come out this past week. And that is Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Oh, let's do that again. That is Super Mario Brothers Wonder Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Meetup at Bella Bell Park, the newest first-party release from Nintendo. This released and it's got an 86 on Metacritic. It's got a very high score right now for the game. I imagine that some of those reviews are reviewing just the new content and some are including the original game in it as well. Either way, I did get this game. I got the $20 DLC addition to this, and it is a lot of content, I will say. It is a considerable amount of content. There is a lot of mini games, both to be played locally multiplayer and online multiplayer. And then there's also obviously all the new boss levels with the new Koopalings and stuff like that, which has been added into the game. Those aren't as fun, but I did have a friend over to play at least a little bit of the local multiplayer. It was just the two of us, but it was a ton of fun. If you like multiplayer Mario, this is pretty good fun. Sadly, though, it does seem that like the online stuff, you can only play with friends in a room. So that means that there's like pretty much half of the multiplayer like mini games in this collection you can only play with someone else who also owns the DLC and the game, So that's kind of a bummer. And because I don't know anybody else that got this, right? There's like a couple of people in our Discord that have it, but I think a lot of people were like, oh, if this had single player content, I'd be all over it, right? So it's kind of a mixed bag. I think it's a really impressive package, but at the same time, it's not what I think most people wanted, which is a shame because I think more people probably would enjoy this if they actually played it. But do any of you guys have any thoughts on Meetup at Bella Bell Park?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. Obviously, I haven't gotten it yet just because of Pokopia taking over my existence. But me and my partner played through Wonder in like 2 sittings and really liked it. So we're gonna play this, and there's no single player content in it?
There is. So there's basically in every world they added like a tent that has Captain Toad at it, and he's like, "Oh, we were trying to find the Koopalings because they like stole these bells." There's a whole bunch of completely pointless story stuff in it. It's just like me like pressing A to get through dialogue in order to get to these levels. But basically, yeah, there are these new levels where it's like they'll add. Or they take existing levels and then add Koopalings into them, and then you like get to the end and there's like a new boss fight, basically. So it's very much like, Mario isn't really known for its great bosses. It's kind of the same thing here, and they're not challenging at all, incredibly easy. But there is some single player content added to the game.
All right. Well, I'll be playing it all multiplayer anyway, so I'm just surprised that they didn't. I don't know. I guess I'm not surprised. I'll buy it. It seems like it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, it does look great in 4K. Just sucks that it's locked behind a $20 paywall of a bunch of multiplayer stuff, especially if you're a single player guy, right?
Yeah.
Jordan, are you going to pass on this one, you think?
Yeah, that's a hard pass for me, dog. Yeah, like I said in the notes last week, I was just like, if this was $5 just for the 4K upgrade, I would instantly buy it. I'd even pay $10, but $20 for something I'm not going to play when I already have so much else to play just is a really, really hard ask. It was the same for like Kirby when that came out as well, but I'm honestly more inclined to buy that one personally.
I mean, it's more single player content.
More single player content. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think this one's going to pass me by, even though I do want to play this game in 4K. I just wish there was different options for that. I know it's unrealistic, but I just wish it was a thing.
Well, if you really want to try it out, they did add game share into it. So, it's not going to be in 4K, obviously. It's going to be highly compressed video that's streaming to your machine. But maybe that's something we could try, Jordan, just to see how it goes. I was trying to get someone to try that out with me before we recorded today, just so I'd be able to talk about it, but wasn't able to get anybody to play with me yet. But hopefully next week, I'll have a little bit of more hands-on with the game share, see what kind of modes are available with that. But we'll move on to our next bit of news, and we are getting into potential spoilers if you somehow have avoided this news over the past week. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to click away if you don't want to hear anything about the Super Mario Galaxy movie that is releasing this week. 3, 2, 1. Star Fox is in this freaking movie. Fox McCloud himself has a character poster for the Super Mario Galaxy movie and is voiced by none other than Austin, Texas's own Glenn Powell. So I guess that's kind of exciting. I do think that's pretty good casting. I think all the stunt casting in this movie has actually been pretty spot on. So I'm not really mad about any of it too much. But this is crazy. I mean, this had been speculated for a while that Fox McCloud would be in the movie based on like, I think a still or a shot that was in a previous trailer that people were like, is that Fox's arm? And I was like, no, there's no way. That's Luigi in a weird costume. But it wasn't. It was Fox. And I guess they're really doing some sort of crossover. I've got some theories about this, but I want to hear from you guys first. XanaGear, what do you think about this? Are you excited for the movie? And are you a Star Fox fan?
I'm a Star Fox fan. I played 64 a lot as a kid. I would say, I don't know. I'm not surprised by it. It's called the Mario Galaxy movie. They're in space. Right. I think he's going to be in the movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a Star Fox movie in 5 years. But
he's so perfect.
I found the reaction to this really funny because a lot of people naturally. I get the response of this is it's a spoiler. They should have saved it for the movie.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know. I found it very fun. I found it funny that they announced it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because like it seems who is this selling a ticket to? It's selling a ticket to like 10 people who weren't going to see the movie.
All the same people that would enjoy Nirvana the band, the show, the movie are the ones that are excited by this news.
Yeah, I don't. I guess the Glenn Powell casting was what they wanted to announce.
Sure.
To try to sell people who like celebrities.
That's a pretty good point.
But yeah, it's kind of not a surprise. I'm not that excited for the movie. I think I depending on the reviews, I'll probably wait to see it on when it comes to streaming, because I saw the first one in theaters and it was good. It was okay.
Right.
So I'm tentative on this one.
Yeah. I do think it's going to be a mega smash. I think now the box office projections.
No pun intended.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, we could talk about that. But I think the box office projections right now have it going over the opening of the original movie. I mean, that it does have a 5-day long opening because it's opening on a Wednesday, and then Easter is Sunday. So, that's a really long time for it to kind of get that huge cume. But yeah, I think it's going to be a major smash hit. We've got a whole bunch of Switch Heads going on Wednesday. So the day this episode comes out, I'll be seeing it that night. I'll be posting a straight out of the theater reaction as well. So be tuned for that. Jordan, what do you think about this? Are you excited for Fox McCloud in the Mario Galaxy movie? And what do you think this means for the Mario universe?
What a missed opportunity to have Brie Larson play Samus Aran in space. Anyway, whatever. No, I'm pretty stoked. Mostly because like this is really good casting, and I do think it'll be a little bit longer than 5 minutes. I think Fox will be in the movie for at least a portion of it, just because he got his own poster. Like that was kind of how this originally leaked, was there was a poster of Fox. And I'm like, I mean, I feel like if they're going to give him a poster, he's got to be in at least like a full act of the movie, in my opinion. But, we'll see. I'm kind of curious to see how that all plays out. I really like the video that they put out to accompany this announcement with like Glenn Powell and like
just like jumping around a movie theater.
Yeah. And I'm like, they didn't need to do any of this. And the fact that Glenn Powell was like, no, he probably was like, no, I want to do this. I want to wear the Fox McCloud outfit. I'm like, thank you. I don't know. Because it's like, we don't really see the other characters dressing up for this really, except for maybe like at the premiere, but Glenn Powell was like, no.
That's why they announced it. He wanted to put that on. That's the only reason they announced it.
I feel like, so I'm just like, I just like that he's like into it. You know what I mean? Like, not to talk shade on Benny Safdie, but like, it's just funny to watch him describe Bowser Jr. I'm like, dude, you're in this to be like a celebrity and get a paycheck, and like, no shade whatsoever. But that is just like the stunt casting that is like the weirdest to me. Whereas this feels like Glenn Powell's like, no, I love Star Fox, and I'm really excited to play this character.
I mean, I fucking love Star Fox. I'm like very excited for this, and it's like, and I've been saying forever that not necessarily in a movie, but Nintendo needs to cross over all their cosmic stuff. Like I think like Kirby, Star Fox, F-Zero, Metroid, Mario Galaxy, like it all could just have like one big cumulative game, that kind of where it all crosses over. And I think this is a great start to that, and I think it's proving that it could, I don't know, lead to more down the road, which we will talk about here in just a second. But real quick, before we move on specifically from the movie news, I agree with you, Jordan. I think that the more I think about it, the more I think that Fox is going to be the DK of this movie, right? Like, Mario went to Donkey Kong Country and there was that whole section with that. I feel like Mario and the gang will find themselves in Fox's quadrant, and then he'll kind of join the team and be a big part of, probably the third act of this movie, right? Going in and defeating whoever the big boss is, which there are still some spoilers out there, one of which I have sadly heard already that have not been revealed by Nintendo. So definitely keep your ears closed if you're trying to remain unspoiled, but it seems like Nintendo is doing that job for them. So
yeah, I was about to speculate and say like, wonder what the big surprise is, but I guess if it's already leaked, then
right. Yeah. You might see from my face if I give it away. But let's move on to our next bit of news, because it is related. Because I think the one thing that Nintendo has done so well with the Mario movie, and probably what they're going to be doing with the Zelda movie as well, is showing how these movies can really lead to sales of games. Obviously, if Fox is the Donkey Kong of this movie, what happened after we had Donkey Kong in the last one? We got DK Bonanza, right? What has been rumored now from Nate the Hate is that a new Star Fox game is coming. And not only is it coming, it's coming this summer, according to Nate the Hate on his podcast, which he does with friend of the show, MVG. There was a huge treasure trove of new stuff that was announced. One of them was a brand new Star Fox game, specifically for Switch 2, that's going to be dropping this summer. And then the other big piece of news is that the big holiday game for this year is going to be the fabled Ocarina of Time remake that we've been hearing so much about recently, or at least has been rumored from many, many different people. This is very exciting to me. If there are some other leaks that have come out as well about this from other sources that have claimed that this game is coming, that are saying that it's a pretty huge scope, even a bigger scope than some of the Resident Evil remakes that have been happening recently. If that's the case, that's pretty cool, especially since this game has already been remade in the 3DS era. That is kind of more like a pretty port, I think, compared to what they are going to be doing with this game coming up. But there's a lot more to chew on, including apparently news that Nintendo Switch Sports is getting a Switch 2 edition. Fire Emblem, the new Fire Emblem game is coming this summer. Splatoon Raiders is supposed to be coming this summer, along with Rhythm Heaven. Seems like a really packed summer based on what Nate is saying. So I imagine some of that might get pushed back, but what do y'all think about this? We've been speculating, Jordan, on this Ocarina of Time remake for a while. Do you believe Nate? Do you think he's trustworthy here?
I feel like he's generally been trustworthy over the years. However, the timelines are always up for debate. You know what I mean? I feel like there are a lot of times when he was talking about Donkey Kong for literal years before we got the announcement. So I'm not as gung-ho as oh, it's definitely happening this year. It would make sense though, because I think we're in a really weird spot with the Switch 2 where most of the games coming out are new IPs or returning franchises that are pretty niche. So it would make sense that they need something this fall. And, we all thought it was definitely going to be Pokemon, but now that is confirmed coming in 2027, that leaves a big hole at the end of the year of that they need to fill. So it's just it's got to be a Mario or Zelda that they're holding out for. And, to be fair, 2023 the Mario movie came out, Mario Wonder came out that fall. So it would make sense if there was a 3D Mario to come out this year, but I don't know if that's true. And a Zelda would be Sate fans pretty good as well. So I don't know, man. I just I do honestly trust him, but I don't always trust the timelines.
That's right. Yeah, he says that 3D Mario is not coming till 2027, which makes sense, especially if Ocarina of Time is this holiday. And there's also no Pokemon this holiday, right? So I think that would mean to me that Pokemon is probably spring of next year, is what I would imagine. And then Mario would be holiday. But
Pokemon's always in the fall, dude. It's never. I don't think it's been.
It also always is on schedule, which it is not this time. So I think all bets are off. Yeah,
fair enough.
XanaGear, what do you think about some of this stuff?
Zelda Ocarina remake I didn't know about this at all before I read the show notes, so I am over the moon. I really, my head is exploding with possibilities of a big scope Ocarina remake,
right?
Ocarina with Breath of the Wild physics engine and
Ocarina with climbing.
Breath of the Wild with good dungeons.
Yeah, it's a shake hands meme. Yeah,
So I do think I think it is more likely that it comes this year for sure. Especially even with Bonanza being done for a year or whatever, the Mario that team, if they're making the next Mario, still needs at least another year,
right,
to crank out a 3D Mario. So we're dying for a Zelda. I think I'm dying for a Zelda. Give me a Zelda.
Yeah, and I feel like whatever the next mainline Zelda game is probably still at least 2 years away, right? So it would make sense that they need to fill that hole somewhat. I have no idea who would be developing any of these games. I imagine Star Fox is probably another studio, maybe even Next Level. might be working on that because we don't really know what they're working on right now. We've speculated, Luigi's Mansion 4, obviously, and there's a lot that I think a lot of these studios could be working on. But I think Bandai Namco makes a ton of sense, especially.
Could it be retro? Because I know they just made Metroid Prime, but they could have had a second team, right?
Potentially, yeah. I know they're cooking something right now, but it feels like that's pretty early. And I feel like with how long Metroid Prime 4 took, I imagine that was all hands on deck with that game. But I don't know. That would be fucking incredible. I think a retro studio Star Fox would really be something. I think that was the rumor, right? Was Star Fox GP or whatever was being done retro a while ago. That's not in the canceled games tier list for the record because that was made up. But some other quick news here. This Nate the Hate leak has been corroborated by VGC. So that's happened the last couple times that Nate has leaked something, which has all come true. So take it with a massive grain of salt, but actually a tiny one because it's probably real. Other leakers have also come forward with similar leaks. Again, these were people that also called that Ocarina of Time and Star Fox were coming out this year. Those leakers have also said that there's a new Wario Land and Super Metroid remake in the work. That was Mallow932 said that in a recent post as well. And this was before Nate came out and said his thing. So there's lots of swirling rumors right now. So be very wary what you take to heart because any of it could turn out to be false. Any of it could. This one seems like too good to be true, right? Which is why I'm like, even though it's Nate, I'm like, maybe he's finally being fed misinformation by the Nintendo ninjas. You know what I mean?
They do have a leak problem. So I would not be surprised if they're trying to correct that in some way.
Yeah. It is a shame that all this stuff kind of just wasn't a surprise in a direct, because imagine how hyped that would be.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna flip out when I see the Ocarina remake. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion that it's like when I watch a Nintendo Direct and it confirms something that was leaked, I'm still excited by that. And in fact, I feel like kind of like a bit of superiority being like, I knew it was coming whenever it happens. So I think that'll be cool. But anyway, I think that we're not getting a direct until June. So don't hold your horses till then. Anyway, that's going to do it for the news. That was a hefty segment. This is going to be a longer episode. Apologies in advance, everybody. But we are going to take a small break here. And when we come back, we will be here with Jordan and XanaGear to do our tier list of infamously canceled Nintendo games. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this break. And we are back here with XanaGear and Jordan to do our canceled Nintendo game tier list. I'm very excited about this. In fact, I've been thinking about doing the show all week long. I'm really excited to be here with you boys this evening because Nintendo has a long list of famously canceled games, what we like to refer to as Vaporware, and we're going to be ranking them in a tier list. If you're watching the YouTube version of this episode, first of all, welcome. We have a little different setup here than we normally do. I will have the tier list on screen the entire time, and I'll be cutting to footage from these canceled games when that is available. But yeah, I think a lot of the stuff I learned about from Did You Know Gaming. I think they are, Liam Robertson in particular is a great resource when it comes to talking to devs about canceled games projects, especially retro. There's a lot of retro studios on this list. But before we actually get into the actual ranking here, XanaGear, I know you were saying during the break that this is the first time you'd heard about a lot of this stuff. What do you think about kind of Nintendo's history with canceling games, shelving them before they come out, stuff like that?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is that Final Fantasy Tactics style Zelda game. Literally, I want to roll over. I want it so bad. I can't believe it. I don't get it. I don't understand. More people should just copy Final Fantasy Tactics. And then the abundance of retro cancellations. Retro was just Rare, was just cranking
Rare
out.
and retro. Yeah.
Yeah, Rare was just cranking out games. Shame what happened to them.
Mm-hmm. Jordan, what about you? What do you think about because Nintendo famously will sit on games for a really long time before putting them out. So I imagine there's many more games that have been canceled that we just don't even know about that are in this list. But what do you think about kind of Nintendo and their policy of canceling games at large?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting going through this list and noting the repeats of like a lot of retro and a lot of rare. And it makes me think like, because they are kind of a little bit more tertiary, like a little bit further away from Nintendo EPD, that like that's the only reason we are hearing about these, or they maybe have like, being an American company, have higher turnover and the NDAs run out
Right.
and people can actually talk about it, which is like what a lot of the Did You Know Gaming videos about retro and stuff like that are people who can actually talk about these things now because
Right.
they're not still working at the company. Whereas like things coming out of Japan, people have been working for Nintendo for 30, 40, 20, decades, so it's like, we're never going to hear about those and they're never going to talk about them. So it's just kind of interesting to see like how this list is a little bit skewed in that way. But I am always fascinated by like the ideas phase, because it's just like, oh, these are like what could have been,
Right.
It's kind of interesting to see.
That's a great point. Yes, some of these games are, we're never got past the pitch phase. Some of these games were very much near completion and then just not put out. Some of them were all in varying states in between. So we have 5 different tiers. The top tier, which is the S tier, is the just release it tier. That is basically this game, it's pretty much just sitting there done. Just put it out, right? We're ready. Even if it's a little busted, people will be happy about it. And Nintendo does have a history of some of that stuff, which we'll get to in a second. The A tier is the deserves to be finished tier. That means maybe they need to put a little bit more work into it, but then it could probably come out at some point and we could all play it. Games that we think fit into that category, we'll get into that tier. The B tier will be the would have been nice tier, followed by the probably for the best that this game was canceled tier. And then the last one at the very bottom is the never even born tier. That are those are games that never had a shot to begin with. But before we get into it, the actual ranking, there are some honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up. And these are games that would have been in this list, but eventually saw releases. I think most famously of these is Star Fox 2, right? Star Fox 2 was pretty much totally completed. I think it was maybe needed a little bit more polish, but pretty much all the way there, and then was shelved due to Star Fox 64 fast approaching. That was eventually released on the Super Nintendo Classic. So we do know there is precedent for actually getting some of this stuff out there. Additionally, there's also 2 Virtual Boy games that were finished that never saw the light of day, and those are both coming to NSO soon for the Virtual Boy console. That is Zero Racers, the F-Zero game, and Dragon Hopper, which I think has been renamed to D-Hopper for the new release coming out pretty soon. So those are 2 we definitely wanted to shout out. And then additionally, we got to shout out Pokemon Picross for the Game Boy Color. This was a game that was completely finished by Jupiter. It's a really awesome Pokemon Picross game, but for some reason, Nintendo shelved it and it never saw the light of day. This entire ROM was found in the GigaLeak, and I actually have played a fan-translated version of this game. So that game is available as well, Pokemon Picross. So we will not be ranking those on the tier list, but those are really awesome games. There are a couple other ones down here at the bottom, Jordan, that I think you added for honorable mentions. Is that right?
Yeah, there was just retro has so many pitched games or other games that they were working on that ended up getting canceled. Metaforce, NFL Retro Football, Car Combat / Thunder Rally, and Star Fox Armada. Just to throw it in there. I mean, there's probably so many more that we could name in honorable mentions, but just worth mentioning some of the retro projects that never saw the light of day.
Absolutely. And this is not an exhaustive list. These are basically the ones that we could think of for this. So if we leave anything out, definitely be sure to shout it out in the comments below. But I think with all that out of the way, let's get started, because the first game we're going to be talking about is a rare game, and this is 12 Tales Conquer 64. You guys might remember that before the game was rebooted and completely scrapped and restarted, it as Conker's Bad Fur Day, the M-rated foul-mouthed movie parody game, Rare was making like a straight up like children's style 3D platformer starring Conker. I remember getting really excited for 12 Tales Conker 64 before it came out. Because I was a kid and I couldn't play M-rated games, but this looked phenomenal. And then when I found out it was canceled, I was actually pretty disappointed. It seemed like the game was pretty far along before they eventually ditched the whole thing and started over again. But yeah, this one is a very exciting one for me that I really wish I could play some kind of prototype of this game and see how it actually went. What do you guys think about this one? Where would you put this on the tier list? And were you ever excited to play this game as a kid?
I'd probably put it in S or A because I would much rather play this game than Conker's Bad Fur Day, honestly. I played Bad Fur Day when I wasn't supposed to, when I was 10 years old, and I thought it was funny, but it's just not. It's not a platformer, really. It leans that late Rare, like too many mini games, too many like obtuse puzzles, too many cutscenes. Just not Banjo-Kazooie, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think like whenever Banjo-Kazooie came out, they were like, we can't put out this Conker game because it's like way too similar to Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah. But I think it would have still been a hit. I mean, this is the era where Rare like could kind of do no wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They were cranking out games. I would have taken 2 Rare platformers. I mean, they put out Jet Force Gemini, which is like a much lower bar in quality compared to Banjo-Kazooie. I would have taken a lower quality Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah. What about you, Jordan? What do you think about 12 Tales Conker 64?
Yeah, this is one when I was doing research for this. I had like never heard about this. I like did not realize this was a thing at all. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it was like really far into development. There's like large swaths of gameplay. So
many levels.
For me,
yeah,
a lot of levels. Like, so I don't think it was quite like ready to be released before it got canceled. But so for that reason, based on the tier list rules, I'd put it in like A tier because it's just like it looks like it could have used a little bit more finishing polish and stuff like that. It doesn't look like it was about ready to release, but it looks like there was enough meat on this bone to like have a full game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I would put it in because I mean, yes, it would have been nice, but I think that this game deserves to be finished. Note that does not mean this will happen because I think everybody that worked on this game no longer has anything to do with Rare, right? So there's no way in hell that I think this would ever see the light of day. But I kind of like sort of going between just release it and deserves to be finished because I bet it's in a playable enough state. But this feels to me like one where if this game were to come out and then get decompiled, like modders would like finish the game,
totally.
Right? So that's one that I would love to see. Okay, cool. So 12 Tales Conker 64 goes in the A tier, deserves to be finished. Let's move on to another Rare game. And this is probably one of the most infamous canceled games in this list. This is Dinosaur Planet. Now, obviously, this game eventually became completely reworked as Star Fox Adventures Dinosaur Planet. But that's a very different game, right? I mean, it's got a lot of the same characters. Obviously, Crystal is still very much a part of it. And, you know, I think the bad guy is the same between the two games. But this was for the N64. And this is kind of interesting because this game was pretty much mostly done. And this has a leaked version, like a beta version of the game that is thing that I was talking about with the last game, where it's like, I think fans have kind of gone in and finished the game for Rare, which is really interesting. I think that this one would be really interesting if Nintendo ever decided to put it back out, make for a great drop on NSO. But Jordan, what do you think about the original Dinosaur Planet?
S tier. This is just like when Rare was just firing on all cylinders and could actually like finish a new game with like a new IP. Like I think that's one of Rare's best suits is that they were so good at creating new IP. Mm-hmm. Like really memorable characters, really cool world design, really just beautiful. And it's kind of, you know, like taking a little bit of like Jet Force Gemini world design where it's kind of more actiony and then kind of mixing it in with more of like hand-to-hand combat. And this is definitely one of those games of like, this would have been really cool on the N64. And I think it would have ended up being probably one of the better games for the system, just in the same pedigree of other Rares. Now, that being said, what it did eventually become is, to me, just okay. Like,
yeah, yeah.
like it kind of was hampered by the fact that it was then turned into a different game.
Yeah,
So,
I think Miyamoto was like, this needs to be a Star Fox game because it's got foxes in it. And that kind of was to the detriment of the game. They kind of had to transition to GameCube, which means pretty much rebuilding the game for, a new system. And then on top of that, kind of throwing in a bunch of Star Fox stuff where before they had much more of a pure experience. What do you think about this, XanaGear?
Yeah, I mean, I would take it. I never played Star Fox Adventure. It's one of my blind spots. But I watched the gameplay footage of this, and yeah, I just wonder how. I haven't played the demo, so how complete of a game is it?
It's like 90% complete.
90%.
Yeah, they really got really, really far in this game before they ended up
that's
completely
so
reworking
crazy.
it. Yeah,
that's so crazy that they reworked the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might actually download it. I might actually download the ROM and check it out.
Okay, well,
I love N64 Rare though. And the gameplay looked like really, really polished.
Yeah, I agree. It was like a Zelda style game. It was Rare doing Zelda, which is such a great thing to see. I'm putting this, I agree, right in the S tier. Just release it. Nintendo, if you know what's good for you, instead of a bunch of people playing some slipshod mod version of the game online, do what is right and plop this on NSO, because I think you'd make a lot of fans very happy. All right. That's 2 N64 games down. We've got one more N64 game to talk about, and that is Earthbound 64. And boy, howdy, this is a crazy one. I think during the break, you were saying that you did not even know that this game existed, XanaGear. This game eventually, sort of like some of the other ones we've been talking about, was eventually reworked into Mother 3. This was going to be just Mother 3 in Japan, is what it was referred to as. But obviously, the game is totally different in style and in gameplay and in substance. There's quite a bit of footage of this game online as well for what would have been in the US Earthbound 64. Just crazy to see the Earthbound style in that low poly look of the N64. Like, it's so tasty looking, dude. Like, I want to play this game so bad. I think the story was mostly salvaged for Mother 3, but yeah, like the style of gameplay, the vibes and everything like that are pretty much unmatched. What do you think about this, Jordan? Did you know about this game before making this tier list?
Yeah, I had heard about this one. I can't ever really tell like how far in development it got. I mean, famously, Mother 2 was like redone and made in like less than a year, after they had worked on it for a long time. So it's like kind of confusing to me, like where in the process this was when it got like canned or reworked or anything like that.
Well, there were like full like TV commercials in Japan for this game, and it was shown off at Space World and had a lot of footage and a lot of different environments were all completely built out.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything because that's what Mother 2 was. And then they like completely redid the whole thing. So it's just like, to me, I'm like, I have no idea if that means the game was even good. You know what I mean? Because that's what the problem they had with Mother 2. So for me, I'm like, it goes a little bit down on the tier list, not because I wouldn't want to see it and wouldn't be curious, but I'm like, there's a reason why they reworked this for the Game Boy Advance, right? Like, so I think there's something about it that just like was not working that we don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I was leaning definitely towards the deserves to be finished here on this one, but it sounds like you're leaning more towards would have been nice. Am I accurate in that?
Yeah, I think it's for me a B tier, and it's not like that I'm a Mother hater or anything like that. I just, for some reason,
you're a dad guy.
Daddy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about this just feels like it needed a lot more time in the oven.
Yeah, interesting. I would say deserves to be finished. Sounds like you're saying would have been nice. What about you, XanaGear? Where would you put this? Break the tie.
I think I'd put it in deserve to be finished. Just the footage we got looks incredible, and there's not enough dang RPGs on the N64.
Right? Yeah,
we really would have killed for this. And I do think like even if it was 40% done, that I mean this game almost more than a lot of the others for me. I really, really want to see this on the N64.
Yeah,
I bet just speculation, but I bet they were just having trouble working in 3D or something, making an RPG interesting in 3D. Environment design with that kind of scope on the N64, that was probably a task.
And
That's a good point.
Itoi-san was not like a game developer, really. Like he was like, he was like an artist in many different ways, but like actual game development was not his strong suit. So I'm sure he had ideas that were like well beyond the scope of what the N64 was capable of. I'm going to put it in the deserves to be finished here, but I will put it behind Conquer.
Okay.
Just to make you feel a little bit better, Jordan. Next game we have on the list is a Virtual Boy game. There are a bunch that didn't come out, but this is the one that we have on the list here, and this is Virtual Boy Mario Land. There was a whole demo of this game that was shown off, I think at Space World and maybe even E3 whenever the Virtual Boy was first shown off. There is some footage of this prototype that was out there, and there is a kind of playable recreation that you can play right now online. But that is kind of a reimagining of the game more than any leaked source code. This one, I think, actually maybe has a chance to come back just because we're seeing 2 Virtual Boy games that were never released actually coming to the Nintendo Switch Online. It had some really interesting features in it. Like when you would go into the background and enter pipes, it would all of a sudden become this like top-down Zelda style gameplay that really seemed to take a lot of advantage of the 3D element of the Virtual Boy. So, I think that if the Virtual Boy had been a hit, this definitely would have come out. And I think it still could. I'm interested what you guys think about that. Jordan, you're shaking your head a little bit. What do you think about Virtual Boy Wario Land?
Virtual Boy Mario Land.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it was very far in development. That's just like the vibe I get. The reason that we're getting these other 2 Virtual Boy games is like they were done. Like they were just, just a failure of the Virtual Boy. They didn't see the benefit of releasing something at a loss, So I don't think this was nearly done enough. So for me, it goes in the would have been nice if the Virtual Boy was successful, and it probably would have been like more of a almost a sequel to Wario Land and kind of taken ideas from that and kind of push it further. And I think even like isn't like the thing that drops down in the footage like a Wario face?
I mean, Wario got his start in Mario Land, right? In Mario
Land 2,
so.
And Super Mario Land 2, Legend of the 6 Golden Coins, one of my favorite Game Boy games. So that's why it would have been cool to see like more of a pseudo sequel to that as well, So yeah, I think it would have been nice personally. I don't think there's enough meat on that bone, at least from the footage that I was able to watch.
What do you think, XanaGear? Do you agree with this?
The screenshots just look like a fever dream, man. Like these like this screenshots look like early Gen AI.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a Zelda screen and then there's a top down screen that looks like Zelda. I literally want no part in playing this video game ever in my life. I don't care. If this never came out, I would not care at all.
Dang. So you're would you say you're in the probably for the best tier then?
probably for the best that the Virtual Boy got
wow.
down,
okay.
so.
Interesting. I would put it in deserves to be finished just because we're seeing the other ones, but I think that puts it squarely between the 3 of us in the would have been nice tier. So we'll stick it there for now. Hopefully Nintendo has more of that game finished than we thought, and we'll see some of it in the future, but who knows? Maybe we need another Giga Leak. We'll move on to our next game here, and this is Super Mario 128. And this is actually probably one of the most infamous of these games. This was shown off at E3 and at Space World. This was whenever the GameCube was first announced. It was like Super Mario 128. It's going to be the next big game. And a lot of people say that this eventually turned into Pikmin, especially because there's a whole lot of Marios on the screen at once. Obviously, 128 is double 64, which was kind of the play on words here. But Miyamoto, when asked about it, is like, no, it was a game. It wasn't a tech demo. Like, I promise, it was a real game that we were working on. So it's kind of hard to say what the gameplay would have been like because what we saw was very tech demo-y. But this is another one. When I was a kid, when I was subscribed to all the video game magazines and everything, I was like, oh, Mario 128, I can't wait. And then, of course, it just never materialized. But what do you think about this, Jordan? What do you think about this game just in total?
So can you remind me again, what's the C tier?
The C tier is probably for the best.
And then the D tier is definitely
never even born. This game never had a shot.
Yeah. Man. So yeah, I remember very vividly, like I was subscribed to like Nintendo Power, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and I was just like, man, this looks crazy. 128 Marios on the screen at once. Whoa, dude.
Yeah,
and it's just like the idea of a bunch of Marios running around and making Mario sounds as you hit them all, it just reminds me of the Mario face stretching in Nintendo 64, Super Mario 64. But like as a game, I don't really see what it is. So for me, it's probably for the best is kind of where I would slot it.
Interesting. What do you think, XanaGear?
I have a similar reaction to you when I hear the term Mario 128, because I just remember reading those words over and over and over again my entire childhood. But it was definitely any hope I would have for it would have been projected off my love of Mario 64 and just wanting another Mario 64. I don't believe Miyamoto when he says this isn't a tech demo. I think what they call a video game would have been considered a tech demo. I think they probably made a few levels, had like a good core concept, and then kind of developed it out and then scrapped it and said, oh, this isn't a compelling product.
Right. Because it's clearly something different from Mario Sunshine, which I think was supposed to be a launch game for the GameCube and had to be pushed back. And definitely released in a kind of unfinished state. You can kind of feel it with that game a little bit. But allegedly, some of the ideas from this game went on to Mario Galaxy. So maybe they were working with a little bit more than what we saw on kind of the way that the terrain interacts with the player and stuff like that. But I think you guys are right. I think this one's in probably for the best because I don't know that there's as much game there as Miyamoto likes to say. What do you think about that, Jordan? Are you good with probably for the best on this one?
Yeah. All
right. We're putting it there. That's our first probably for the best, which pains me to say because I wanted this game so much when I was a kid, but we got to move on. We're going to talk about another GameCube game that never came to be. This one I think was a lot farther on. That's Donkey Kong Racing. This is, again, another rare game. And this was on the box for the GameCube. This was very heavily promoted before it came out, and then I think got canceled because of the whole Rare being bought by Microsoft thing. Nintendo basically refused to, pay the extra amount of money to buy Rare outright and have them be a full part of Nintendo, which is one of the biggest forks in the timeline that I think is interesting to go down what would have happened if they were still around. But this game looked phenomenal. It was obviously a pseudo sequel to Diddy Kong Racing, had a lot of underwater sections. You would ride animals instead of cars this go around. I thought it looked phenomenal. This is one that I would have loved to have seen happen. And it had Kiddy Kong in it, for Christ's sake. Would have been the only other game that Kiddy Kong was in. What do you guys think about Donkey Kong Racing? Where does this go in the tier list?
The biggest difference in that timeline is that kart racers have good adventure modes in all of them. And the adventure modes just kept getting better. And this one was going to light the spark and it was going to be incredible. So for that reason, I would love, I would have loved for it to be finished. I really wish Rare didn't get bought by Microsoft. It's truly a blow to the industry.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm hovering around just release it for this one. But Jordan, what do you think about Donkey Kong Racing?
I mean, S tier. Obviously, because I'm like, dude, this would have been so sick. Like, I mean, the fact that we never got a sequel to Diddy Kong Racing is like so painful in a way, because it's like that took a lot of the elements of Mario Kart, but then kind of like it differentiated itself by having a good adventure mode, by having like boss battles and having more objective based kind of stuff. And, it's like, that's the way that they differentiated it. And it's like something that we still don't have in Mario Kart. Like we have Mario Kart World with a giant open world and nothing to like do in it, no objectives. And I'm like, that would have been a great thing, and it's like in the timeline, I'm like, imagine a timeline where we got, instead of Mario Kart World, we got a Mario Kart World, we got Donkey Kong Kart World or something, Donkey Kong Racing World. And it's just like this huge open map where you're driving around doing all this stuff. Anyway, I just think like, yeah, this would have been, I don't know if it was in any state to be released, but man, this is a game I would love to have seen finished.
Yeah, I agree. I'm putting it up in S tier. This is a big one. I love it. I'm putting it below Dinosaur Planet, but it is definitely up there as one of the great what ifs. I think it would have been fantastic. Our next one is related. This is not a GameCube game, but it's in the same era. This was a Game Boy Advance game called Diddy Kong Pilot. And this was a game that did eventually get released in a way. It was just reworked into Banjo Pilot for the GBA. There was still some lingering rare games that came out after the Microsoft deal went through. But I guess Nintendo didn't want Diddy Kong to be used or have it be like a Donkey Kong game. They were more comfortable with it being a Banjo game. I don't know exactly the reasons why Diddy Kong Pilot was changed to Banjo Pilot. But this, I think, was pretty far along and probably was fully finished before they ended up having to restart or at least change a bunch of the assets and turn it into a Banjo-Kazooie game. Where are we putting Diddy Kong Pilot on this list?
I think since we got Banjo Pilot, I have not a lot of care to play this version of it because I do think we got all basically the same game with Banjo Pilot. And also, I don't super love the Super Nintendo style kart racers with the 2D motion graphics.
Yeah. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree. Like, I would have loved a Donkey Kong Racing, like, true full sequel, but this just looks like it's like the same thing with like Mario Kart on the GBA. Like, I didn't love it. Like, it did a service for being technically impressive.
Yeah.
But for me, this is more of like a B tier, like it's okay. And also I feel like this got leaked in a pretty full form as well.
Yeah,
so,
I think you can pretty much play this right now.
Yeah,
I think that's all valid. I'm not going to put it in probably for the best. I'm going to put it in would have been nice. Because it's not like I wish this game never came out, but we kind of got it anyway. So we're going to put that one in the B tier, which is would have been nice. We'll move on to our next game, and we're going back to GameCube for this one. And this was Retro's first foray into Nintendo, and that is Raven Blade. This was pretty far along as well. Obviously Retro was formed from a bunch of ex-Iguana devs down here in Austin, Texas, and they were working on this game for a while before Nintendo tapped them to do Metroid Prime. And then I think pretty much everybody that was working on this game was let go early on, or at least 10 people were let go, and everybody else was moved over to Metroid Prime. This seemed like it was pretty far along. Like I said, it was kind of an action RPG sort of fare, maybe like a beat 'em up sort of situation. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what this game was, but there is a decent amount of footage out there on the internet of it. What do you guys think about this one? I mean, it would have been cool to have more games like this on the GameCube, but also I feel like it's probably for the best that everybody was moved over to Metroid Prime, right?
I think it's probably for the best with that, but in a fantasy universe where I get to play a game that's similar to Turok on the GameCube, made by the people who made Turok. I'm a Turok sucker. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that game's good, but I've finished it multiple times.
Yeah, it feels to me like it was almost more like Legacy of Kain style.
Yeah, and another game that I really like.
Yeah. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, it honestly looks almost like God of War style as well, like in that way, which like it would have been nice to have a couple more games like that on GameCube. Like, I can't really think of a ton off top, but I gotta be in like it would have been nice, or like, or probably for the best. Sorry, probably for the best. That's kind of where I would slot this, because
Interesting.
Everything got moved onto Metroid Prime, which is one of their masterpieces. So, and this, like, looking at the footage of this, would this have been a masterpiece?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Apparently the game was not very good as well. Like according to like some people that have talked about it since then. And for how much it looked like was actually finished of this game, for them still not to really have it, maybe it was no real love lost. Where would you? What were you saying, XanaGear? What tier would you put it in?
It looks like the kind of game that's bad in the exact way that I would like, but I could be swayed to put it in probably for the best.
Okay, I'll put it in probably for the best. I'll put it ahead of Mario 128. What do you think about that? Nah, we got to put it below that. Mario 128, I want so bad. That's just for personal reasons. All right, we're moving on. Our next game we're going to talk about was another GameCube game, and this was the sequel to Kirby Tilt and Tumble, being Kirby Tilt and Tumble 2. This was shown off at E3. We've got footage of it right now on the screen, and this was played with a Game Boy Advance link cable. So you would have some cartridge that would plug into the Game Boy Advance, and then you would tilt that around as the controller, and then on the screen, that motion would carry over to the GameCube version. Obviously, this is very prototypical of what eventually would become a lot of Wii games, or at least with the Wii Motion Plus eventually, not right when the Wii launched. But this game was originally Kirby's Tilt and Tumble 2, and then was renamed just to Roll-O-Rama, where I think Kirby was removed and it was just a silver ball that you were rolling along. I am notoriously a huge ball rolling game fan. I fucking love ball rolling games. I love Monkey Ball. I love Marble Madness. I love all that kind of shit. I love Kirby Tilt and Tumble for the Game Boy Color. So this is a huge loss for me. And it seemed like it had quite a lot going for it. This is one that I didn't know about until we were doing this topic, and then I just was immediately hit with like pangs of grief finding out at its existence. I don't know. This one's high for me. I don't know that it was ever completely finished, so I don't know if we can just put it in the just release it. But I feel like I want it in there. It's somewhere between deserves to be finished and just release it. What do you think about this, XanaGear? I saw you nodding when I talked about ball rolling games.
For me, it's just release it. As someone who spent 2 months last year working on a Marvel game, I adore Marvel games. I played a bunch of Marvel Blast Ultra on Xbox Live Arcade. I've played that one Marvel game on the Wii where I forget what exactly it was, but it was like a really solid. I just love rolling a ball across the
Me too. I don't know what it is. I'm a simple man.
There's something about it. It's a primal urge to roll a ball. And I didn't. It's so funny because I didn't even know about the first game. But of course, that's a Game Boy Advance game. So.
Right.
For me, it's just release it.
Okay, Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in the finish it. So I put this in the A tier because it does look like there was a decent amount of work done on the game, but they probably had to like flesh out the levels and finish up the levels and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Because wasn't Roll-O-Rama eventually canceled as well?
Yeah, it was. It never released in any form.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, like, first of all, taking Kirby out of the game is like a huge mistake. Like, replacing the pink puffball with a silver ball with no face, making Kirby sounds. Who's going to want to play that? That sounds boring as fuck. So this one too, it's like also cool, like, seeing them play with different weird control styles. You know what I mean? Like having to plug in I was a big fan of the link cable personally. I really dug that. I had Crystal Chronicles and I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. So for me, this goes in the A tier, like deserves to be finished because it looks like a lot of work was done, but they probably need to, polish it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
All right. Well, I'm putting it in fucking S tier. I'm putting it in fair. We got 2 just release it's and 1 deserves to be finished. I think that puts it I'll put it behind Donkey Kong Racing or in between. Okay. I kind of want this more than Donkey Kong Racing, if I'm honest. I'm going to put it in between Dinosaur Planet and Donkey Kong Racing. What do we think about that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah, I want it.
All right, I'm in control of the tier list right now. So. All right, we're going to move on to 2 more, I think, GameCube games. And these are both third-party games. So, and some of these, I think this next one was technically not a exclusive for Nintendo, but I just remember hearing it talked about all the time in the magazines, and it never came out. And that's StarCraft Ghost. This was a third-person shooter game that pretty much, I think, was completed. And I actually don't remember why this game was canceled.
I know why.
Oh, what was it?
Blizzard just did not want to release this game. Like they had that. I've played. I'm allowed to say this because I've played like 1 million hours of WoW. They had this pretentious, Blizzard seal of quality, and they were only allowed to release one game every 35 years. So they just did not want to release this game. And to be fair, I don't know. It definitely does not look like a Blizzard quality game, to be fair. It kind of looks like a generic third-person shooter action game of the time.
Yeah. Well, where do we put it then? Maybe probably for the best. Would have been nice.
I think would have been nice is fair since it was so close to finished, and I would play it. But there's like I don't know if you saw this doing your research, but there's a big rumor about a StarCraft single player game coming out.
Oh, really?
Like
kind of the spiritual successor to this game?
It's a real rumor. It's hot.
Yeah.
It is going to be announced at BlizzCon this year, almost definitely.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is one that I was really hyped for when I was younger, and then it just never came out. I'd probably put it in would have been nice. What do you think, Jordan? Are you happy with that?
Would have been nice, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of would have been nice.
Yeah, at the bottom, because I'm like, it's like borderline probably for the best, because I agree, it does look kind of bland.
Yeah, in retrospect, it's like at the time, I feel like Earthbound 64, I would have been like, it's okay. I'd rather play a Game Boy Advance version of that game. But now in retrospect, I'm like, I want to play that. And it's like the opposite for StarCraft Ghost.
Yeah.
Like back then I was way more hyped than I would be now to play that game. But
there's like that PS2 to GameCube era dark, before we got into the Gears of War gray, there was like this like Jack 2 color palette of like everything is like
kind of like blue and silver.
It's kind of just dark. Everything's just dark. I don't understand.
Yeah. Not a very handsome
They didn't have
product.
good lighting yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they needed ray tracing back on the Dolphin. Anyway, our last GameCube game here is another third-party one, and this one I'm going to toss to you, but it is the first version of Resident Evil 4. So what do you have to say about this one, XanaGear? This is one you wanted to add.
Yeah, they had a big push from Nintendo to get Resident Evil and Capcom, Beautiful Joe, Resident Evil. There was one other big one. Nintendo just signed a big deal, gave a bunch of money to Capcom, and they started working on a bunch of games, and they remade Resident Evil 1. And around that time, they were making Resident Evil 4, which previously got turned into Devil May Cry, which is the whole thing. That's a totally different game, obviously. But what became Resident Evil 4 started as this like very traditional tank control Resident Evil with all the assets from Resident Evil 4. Even Leon's like trademark jacket is in the footage.
Looks like it was shown off at Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah, so it seems like they just made out one like level with this one enemy chasing you, Mr. X style, with a guy with a big hook. So it definitely was not anywhere near a finished game. It was probably closer to one level with the classic Resident Evil tank controls. But just seeing Resident Evil 4 graphics with the old style Resident Evil tank controls is weird.
Yeah,
it feels odd.
Yeah, it's really weird to look at. This would have been really interesting to play, though. I think Resident Evil 4 obviously turned out to be a masterpiece. So I don't think anybody's like really complaining that we didn't get this too much, but it would be very, very interesting to actually see what this had become. Where do we put this? I don't have a huge dog in this race as a not huge Resident Evil guy, so I'm going to fall on you guys for this one.
I think probably for the best is definitely the big thing here. Yeah, because we got Resident Evil 4 by this turning into Resident Evil 4.
Okay, very good. Where in? I'll put it at the end of probably for the best for right now. Okay, cool. We're going to move on to our next game, and we are now in the Wii era. And the first one we're going to talk about is the infamous Project Hammer from Nintendo Software Technology in Redmond, Washington. This was shown off as kind of an early use of the motion controls for the Wii, and you were just a guy swinging around a big old hammer, and there were a bunch of robots that you would attack. Apparently, this was a Muso style game where there would be lots of enemies on the screen at once. And this got pretty far into development, but I think that they just weren't really happy with how the Wiimote actually felt to use in this game, and it eventually was canceled by the higher ups at Nintendo. But this was a first party, kind of dark and gritty, realistic looking Wii game, right? So I think, potentially also maybe this was canceled because Nintendo was still trying to hold up a little bit of their family-friendly image, especially with their first-party games. But this was in the era of like Red Steel and
Excite Truck.
Yeah, Excite Truck. And Excite Bots, let's not forget. But this is definitely one of those big what ifs would have happened here. But I'm watching footage of the gameplay of this thing, and I don't know, it doesn't look that good. What do you think, Jordan?
Dude, this is an instant D tier. This is like, no way, dude. This looks so boring. Like, I don't know, man. Like, because this is post, like, I think God of War, I mentioned it before, like completely redefined like what a 3D kind of beat 'em up moving through game should be. And this just looks like very stuck in the time, very un-Nintendo. It's not very, doesn't look very fun to play. And like the waggle controls probably would have been miserable. This, to me, this is like instant D, like for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can kind of tell instantly that it's literally just side to side attack, up down attack.
Yeah.
Because that's all they had.
Yeah.
It's just 2 axis inputs. This really does feel right on the level of Excite Truck, like just that Wii launch slate of just let's just crank out a bunch of games.
Yeah. I don't know that I can put it in our D tier just because our D tier is Never Even Born, which I think we need to save for some other games that were never even had a chance whatsoever.
Right,
so I'm going to put Project Hammer at the very bottom of probably for the best. Or should I put it above Resident Evil 4?
No.
Okay. All right. Project Hammer's getting the shade. Nintendo Software Technology, you ended up making good games, but this was sadly not one of them. All right. We're going to move on to our next game. And this was from another North American first-party Nintendo studio, although they weren't at the time, being Next Level Games. And their game was Super Mario Spikers. This is an interesting one. There's not a lot of footage of this. I don't know that it got super far into development on this one, but there are some animations that have leaked from this game, some of which I've got on the screen right now. But this was their follow-up to Strikers Recharged, I believe, for the Wii. And this would have been a volleyball game. They basically were said, what do you want to make next? You can make whatever you want. And so they were pitching to Nintendo this volleyball game that had a lot of wrestling influence as well. And I believe the reason that this game was canceled was because a lot of the animations were way too violent. And they were like, we're not going to do this. I'm sorry. And then they ended up, I think, going on to make, maybe it was Luigi's Mansion 2, I think was maybe the first one that they ended up working on. But this is a very interesting tidbit of what could have been in the Mario Sports catalog. I think this would have been actually pretty cool to see what a Nintendo volleyball game would be like. But what do you guys think about Super Mario Spikers?
I don't want a volleyball game. I really don't want a volleyball game. Yeah. I mean, I'll play a soccer game.
If you want a volleyball game, you can just play Klonoa volleyball. Which is
so true. I no interest. I understand why they canceled it because they probably did some focus testing or some surveys, and they got like one guy saying, yes, finally my time, a volleyball game.
Right.
And that's not me.
What do you think, Jordan?
Well, I got to agree with XanaGear in the sense of like the volleyball game was so boring they had to introduce wrestling into it, and that's never a good sign. Like, you know what I mean? It's like wrestling, you could just make a wrestling game. You don't have to have volleyball in it. You could just have Mario wrestling.
No, that's a video game.
You know
Mario
what I mean?
wrestling.
That's a game I would play.
All right. Is this our first Never Even Born? Is this our first bottom of the barrel?
I mean, they had some concept of it. There was some stuff.
All right, we're putting it in Never Even Born. I think a lot of there's going to be a lot more of these as we get into our last games coming up, because a lot of these were much more concepts and pitches than anything here. But we're going to move on to one that I know you were really interested in seeing, and I've got a little bit of footage on screen right now from Did You Know Gaming and the video that they made on this. But this is the Heroes of Hyrule game. This didn't get very far in development. This was very much a pitch that was turned down, but this would have been a DS game from Retro Studios that was, as you said in the opening there, a top-down puzzle-centric. It had like Zelda puzzles, but it was very much a Final Fantasy Tactics, turn-based RPG strategy game. There was a whole, development Bible that was written for this. And Did You Know Gaming did a great video on this. What do we think about Heroes of Hyrule, the canceled Zelda turn-based strategy RPG?
Just send me the development Bible. I'll make the game, and then we'll just give me $100 million. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
I want this game so bad. That's actually like one of the main things I really want to work on as a tactics game. So
right, interesting.
I'm just like, that is so. I long to. I played Disgaea when I was like 11 years old, and ever since I was just. I love this style of tactics games.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I have to agree. I would have loved to have played something like this. I mean, I even went so far as to play like the Sonic RPG on DS, made by
BioWare.
Yeah, surprisingly.
That's a good game.
Yeah, and I was like, so I would have loved. This would have been like right in my wheelhouse at that time. I would have lost it, and it seemed like they were going to have like other mini games, which probably would have used like the DS, like probably like fishing or, kite flying or something like that. So it could have been. It would have been nice. I think this would have been a really cool game. The pitch sounded fun. I would love to see Retro work in the Zelda universe, which we will talk about again.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of Retro in a row right here, all from this period. Retro was trying so much stuff that never made it to the table, but I don't think we can put it in deserves to be finished because I don't think that there's enough there, but I would put this at the top of would have been nice.
Would have been nice.
All right.
100%.
We are putting that up there. All right. Our next one, as we said, is another Retro game. And this one is really odd. The main, I feel like, legacy of this game is like a picture of a Boo being crucified on a cross. And there's also one of like a Boo like inside a Star of David with like a menorah as well. Who knows what the hell was going on with this game, but there was a Boo game for the DS that was pitched to Nintendo. This was called Boo Haunt. I'm not even really sure what kind of game this would have been. It seemed really strange. Did you find anything about this, Jordan, when you were doing your research on this?
It's mostly just like concept art, and it was like the story was a Boo professor teaching his students. So I guess it would have been a game like you're at the Boo University learning how to be a Boo. Like that's kind of the vibe I get, but like I don't know what that means as far as like what type of game it would have been.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. Like if it's like I really cannot tell what type of game this would have been. It would have been like a platformer, or it would have been kind of like a mini game based game. I really have no idea.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm hovering right around Never Even Born for this one. I feel like the Never Even Born tier was kind of made for this game. But what do you think about the XanaGear? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I am happy with that. It looks like the picture that looks like a shmup on the wiki here.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it might have just been some Nintendo employees' scribbles on his desk, and someone found them.
Well, sadly, we'll never be able to see in two screens a Boo being crucified. But we'll move on to our next game here. And like I said, this is another Retro game. This is the canceled Sheikah game that was announced, or it wasn't announced, but it was another pitch for, Retro to work in the Zelda universe. This would have been a Wii game, and as I understand, it would have been kind of similar to like a Link's crossbow training style of thing. I don't know all the details on this. There's a great video from Do You Know Gaming on this. There's mostly concept art that you can find for this as well. I've got some of that on the screen right now. I think these were found on like one of the artists' art stations or something like that. So what do you guys think about this canceled Sheikah game that they might have done here?
Probably for the best. Like, it just doesn't seem like it was really a game. And also, we don't need another Link's crossbow training. And if I feel like, Retro was just trying to fit with what Nintendo would maybe greenlight, but also like the concept art is cool.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
But like from the game that is described, sounds nothing like it would do justice to how cool the concept art was. So for me, that's why it's like probably for the best.
I think the thing that makes me put it above that tier is what they were saying about like where it was set. Like it was set within the bad ending of Ocarina of Time, exploring the last male sheiks or the last male Sheikah after a genocidal ethnic cleansing journey, transforming into the Master Sword, all while the Dark Gerudo are giving their 100-year birth to Ganon. I mean, that is like so tasty, right? Like it just sounds so cool, like what they could have done with that setting, right? I don't know. It's giving.
And you play as the Master Sword, and you waggle to attack an enemy, enemy. Like
if you have enough cutscenes, it could be worth it.
Yeah.
If it's like 5 levels and then 6 hours of cutscenes of what you described, that's the dream. But other than if it's not that, then yeah, that's I definitely I would put it in for the best.
Okay, I like the idea of it being in would have been nice, but because this was very much just a concept, I'll go along with you guys on this one, and I'll put probably for the best. I'm gonna put it after Retro's other failed game, Raven Blade. So that one's at least above it because it was a real game, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, next game we're going to talk about. This was from Factor 5, and this was a Wii game, which was a compilation of sorts of the 3 Rogue Squadron games. This was called Star Wars Rogue Leaders, Rogue Squadron Wii. And this game, like, is just done. Like they pretty much completely finished this game. And the only reason it was never released is because the company went under and there were issues at the company and they were not able to publish the game. And so I think the whole thing was scrapped. This was basically, yes, taking the 3 Rogue Squadron games, but then adding in optional motion controls for flying, which would have been awkward, but it did have lightsaber sequences as well, which would have used the lightsabers, which was a huge selling point, I think, of the Wii. Before it came out, they were talking about how you could use it as a lightsaber, and then no games actually ended up using it. So this, to me, I think is one of the big what ifs. I would have loved this whenever it dropped. I think this is, for me, just release it. You know, this feels like if you could get the rights and you could put it out there, this is one that I would love to see just dropped somewhere. But I don't know what you guys think about that. It's maybe not in the same pantheon as Dinosaur Planet, Donkey Kong Racing, and Kirby Tilt and Tumble 2. But this one, to me, I would have loved to see happen. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for me, it's more of a lower tier just because just release it now. I don't think so. I don't really want to play Rogue Squadron with motion controls right now. In 2007, whenever they released RE4 on the Wii, I even though I had already played it a bunch on the GameCube, I loved playing RE4 with motion controls. But yeah, so I get what they were going for, but at the end of the day, it's just the same game with mouse controls.
Yeah,
but more annoying.
Yeah, what do you think, Jordan?
Man, I'm somewhere between the S and the A tier, mostly because, like, when they redid Skyward Sword for the Switch, I was like, oh, okay, I'm finally going to play this game. But they, they also modified the game to kind of fit a more modern control scheme. So for me, I feel like this is A tier only because I would want them to, like, yes, put it out like what was intended for the Wii, but also like modify it to just be playable like as like on a regular controller as well.
Interesting.
So it's either, for me, it's like bottom of the S tier or like somewhere on the A tier.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in S. I'm doing it. I'm sorry, XanaGear. I'm doing it. I'm putting it at the top. This just looks like the ultimate Rogue Squadron game. You know what I mean? And replaying missions from the very first one for the N64 in this like redone style, I think would have been really, really amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like,
you sold me on that.
And it's like, think of as well, like when eventually Nintendo puts out a, Wii Nintendo Switch Online, which they will at some point. this would make for a super hype announcement if they did it. So I'll put it at the very bottom of just release it, but I am putting this one in the just release it category. Factor 5, RIP. We are now moving into some of the more recent ones here, and we only have 4 left. The first one we're going to be talking about is a Wii U game, and this is Project Giant Robot. This was shown off at E3 alongside Star Fox Zero and what was the Project Guard, I believe was the other one, which was like, utilizing the Wii U controller in order to fuck with security cameras or something. That eventually came out and was packaged with Star Fox Zero. This game, however, never did come out. There's a very silly video I've got right now of Reggie beating up, I think, Bill Trinan inside a giant cardboard robot suit. So that's kind of funny to see. This never came out, and it's probably for the best. You could argue that this maybe turned into the Labo robot set thing, but not quite exactly the same. What do you guys think about Project Giant Robot for the Wii U?
I don't know what it is about Wii U Nintendo, but they were just putting out tech demos that they did not know what to do with. Yeah. They like brought tech demos to market and said, I don't know, I guess this is all we can come up with. And this is all we got. Sorry. And this is that's what this feels like. Yeah. Just like all the games in Nintendo Land, just like Star Fox Zero as a whole.
1-2 Switch.
1-2 Switch. Yeah, this doesn't feel interesting.
Yeah, don't worry. They're still doing it with Welcome Tour, but yeah, this is definitely in the probably for the best.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah, this is a low tier, probably for the best for me. I'm going to put this one even below Project Hammer, I think. This is the bottom of probably for the best.
I agree.
I can't put it in Never Even Born because they clearly made it and somebody was passionate about it, but
there is a fun Reggie video. So
was somebody passionate about this? I don't know about that.
All Looks like Reggie's letting off a little bit of steam in that video. Maybe it's for the
Our next game is not a Nintendo first party, but it was from a Nintendo exclusive IP, and this is Eternal Darkness 2. This game, I think, was talked about for a while as potentially being one that would come out. I think the devs said that they never intended for Eternal Darkness to be a franchise. I think the game was meant to stand on its own, but they loved the world so much and they wanted to go back. So they were working on something, I think, for the Wii, but then that never turned into anything. And then they eventually were going to make a game called Shadow of the Eternals, which was kind of a spiritual successor to the game that was supposed to be a Wii U launch title, I believe, but I don't think that this ever actually came out. I've got a trailer of it on screen right now, but yeah, this one is Vaporware. What do we think about Shadow of the Eternals, Eternal Darkness 2?
Really unfortunate, what happened to Silicon Knights and just getting sued into oblivion by Epic.
Yeah.
Just like, this is a game that probably eventually would have come out.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like they were pretty far into development, and anything in the vein of Eternal Darkness would have been sick to see something like that. I still don't think we have anything quite as mind-bendy as that. So yeah, man, this would have been cool. I would have enjoyed playing this. Would it have made me buy a Wii U? Probably not, but I would have borrowed your copy, David.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of like you're leaning towards deserve to be finished on this one. I think would have been nice, maybe feels a little bit more likely on this one. For me, maybe towards the top of would have been nice. What do you think about that, XanaGear?
Yeah, I think would have been nice. It's fair. I don't necessarily think we needed a sequel to it, but Silicon Knights, it really is tragic.
Yeah, I agree.
Another timeline split where they made a bunch of incredible games after Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, we got to see if they can figure out the rights problem. Eternal Darkness dropped on GameCube NSO. That would be really amazing to have that available. I'm going to put it in the middle of would have been nice, just behind Mario Land Virtual Boy. Okay, we are now moving on. We have one last... actually, this might not have been a Wii U game. This might have been a Switch game. I'm not entirely sure, but this is the most recent of the canceled retro games, and that is Harmony. So this has not had a big Did You Know Gaming video made on it yet, as far as I'm aware. Maybe it did, but it's kind of very recent. I feel like a lot of the people that worked on this game are probably very much still under NDA. So we probably aren't going to hear any big tell-alls on this recently. I've got a video up from Stumblin' right now based on a leaked version of this game that did come out recently. If this gets DMCA'd, then I'll remove it. But this was a very interesting third-person platformer adventure that had to do with singing as the main mechanic. This was a very bright and colorful, kind of GameCube era-esque looking game that seemed really fascinating, that it seemed like Retro was really, really passionate about. And I think a lot of their developers were working on this game for quite a long time until it eventually got shelved. This is so tragic, I think, what happened to this game, because clearly they were working on it and just couldn't really crack it, and really get what would be the big hook and sell of this game down pat. But I think if they had been given a little bit more time, they would have eventually found it, right? But by that point, I have to imagine that this game was either just canceled because it wasn't working or because they were asked to take over from Bandai Namco for Metroid Prime 4. So we'll never really know, but surely at some point Kiwi Talks and Did You Know Gaming will get the inside scoop on the troubled development of this game. But this is a fascinating one that I really would love to see finished at some point. But I don't know what you guys think about Harmony.
Yeah, it really reminds me of Cameo, the Rare 360 launch title.
Totally.
And I'm a sucker for that type of game. But I who knows how well this would have done. I think with more time in the oven, I think they could have made something special. Retro is an incredible studio, so it is. I am definitely I lean towards. Deserves to be finished, honestly.
Yeah, it's just crazy that the only retro games that came out in the Switch era, before the Switch 2 anyway, was the two Donkey Kong games, just both being re-released on the system, right? Like, clearly they were cooking something for a really long time, and we never really got to see the fruits of their labor. But
Tropical Freeze, one of the greatest platformers ever made.
Oh, of course. You love to see it. I think this needs to go in the deserves to be finished here. And definitely. I really hope that, somebody at Retro still has a coal in the oven on this one, or on the fire, however you want to say it. I'll put it at the bottom of deserves to be finished, maybe behind Earthbound 64 or above it. What do you guys think? Do you think is it at the top?
I think it's above Earthbound 64 because it looks like there's a lot of work put into this game, dude. Okay. Like the art style, even just in like the leaked footage, is like beautiful. Like I can just see putting the polish on this and like really finishing it out. And, it's just like the design that went into this game is really cool. And yeah, and
it's nice to have like a game with a female protagonist that seems like it's fun. It's probably fun for kids, but also like, it's more like a fun for the whole family sort of situation. Right. And I think the idea of a singing based mechanic as well is really fascinating.
Yeah, and a female protagonist that is not just being like beat up the whole game.
Right.
Like going through just like turmoil as like the main basis of the game is like nice to see. So yeah, I definitely in the A tier for sure.
Got it. All right. Well, that brings us to our last Switch game that we know was canceled. And this one is a little bit more of a concept, but we do know that Giles Goddard, one of the original creators of Star Fox, pitched and made a prototype of a Switch F-Zero game that he showed to Nintendo, really put a lot of work into, and Nintendo eventually turned it down because they were looking for some kind of new mechanic that they could add into the game that doesn't just make it another racing game on the system. We know eventually that ended up going to NST with the Battle Royale style F-Zero 99. That was, I guess, the shakeup of the mechanics that Nintendo needed in order to create a new F-Zero game. I love F-Zero 99, don't get me wrong, but I think a fully current gen F-Zero game from the creator of Star Fox, that's something really special, right? Like, I think this is a shame this never came out. But, I don't know how high we can put it as an actual game that was canceled, right?
I think Nintendo going for Battle Royale as being the thing that sold them on it instead of like a good F-Zero game. That is just that's tragic. A good F-Zero deserves to be in the world. We deserve to play a good F-Zero
an actual GX sequel, you know.
Yeah.
Jordan, what do you think about this? I feel like this kind of has to go in the Never Even Born tier just because it was more of a concept than anything else, but I, for the record, really wish that this one actually came out.
Yeah, it's got to go with the Never Been Born. Never was even born. I mean, I'm happy that you can dream, David. I don't really care about F-Zero, but I'm happy that you can dream.
Yeah, I love to dream. You may say I'm a dreamer. Anyway, that is our finished tier list. This is a fascinating talk. This was longer even than I was anticipating it going, but this was a great trip down into just the what could have been of Nintendo. Do we have any final thoughts as we're wrapping up this tier list here?
Just give me a Zelda tactics game.
Yeah, I'll just echo that sentiment. I feel pretty good about this list. Like after hearing it all back, I'm like, yeah, this all feels about right. I feel like this is this one of our less controversial rankings or tier list episodes.
I agree. I think hopefully most people feel the same, but if you don't, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below if you would change anything about the ordering of these games. Are there any games that we left off of this list? There are. If you go to the Nintendo wiki thing of canceled games, there are way more games than these. These were just some of the highlights that we wanted to feature on this episode. Definitely let us know. And yeah, Nintendo, if you're listening, a turn-based strategy Zelda game is just too good to pass up. Give us one of those and just drop Dinosaur Planet, you cowards. We know you have it somewhere in the vault. All right. We're going to take one last small break, and then we're going to come back and talk about the games we've been playing recently. Mostly what I've been playing are the two things we talked about in the news section, being the Super Mario Wonder expansion and the Tomodachi Life demo. I have been continuing to play Fitness Boxing Fist of the North Star, trying to get my blood pumping when I can. Also just playing a fuck ton of Tetris 99. I've just, for some reason, been playing a ton of that game still. But the two games I want to talk about are Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is the first one. This one I started playing because the boost mode basically made it to where when you're playing this game in handheld, it feels like a remaster, right? It's like fully 1080p in the hand, and it's just so gorgeous to look at on the Switch 2 screen. I wish that ghosting issue wasn't there because you really feel it in a side-scrolling game like this, but I am going through and actually playing some of the time trials and the hard mode now that I, just have something else to do with my hands while I'm, watching The Pit, mainly is what I'm playing this game while watching The Pit. I should probably be a little bit more locked in on that show, but sometimes I got to look away because it's pretty brutal indeed. But man, Tropical Freeze is just one of the best platformers of all time. And then the other game that I've been playing recently is just UFO 50. I've been playing and trying to get the cherry specifically on Party House. It's really hard to get a 5 streak in that game because a lot of the builds that you get of the decks are just completely unsuitable. And I'm sure that there's good ways to do it and to min-max those really hard to win decks, but I've been having some trouble with it. I keep getting to 3 streaks and then losing it on the 4th game. But it's still a ton of fun. I'm just not banging my head against it. Every once in a while, I go in and try to get my 5 streak. Do you have any tips on that, XanaGear?
I have no tips. I don't even think I got the cherry on Party House. I got gold on everything in the first month, and then I did not get cherry on everything.
That's wild. Well, anyway, that's what I've been playing. Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, so I kind of got a wild hair, and I was like, I'm going to go back to Mario Kart World now that there's been a few updates and just try to beat every Grand Prix in 150cc. I kind of played a little bit of the 50cc and 100cc when it first came out, but now I'm just completely skipping all of those and just going, if as soon as I get a second place, third place, whatever, I just quit the Grand Prix and restart.
Yeah. Good game, man. I do like Mario Kart World.
Yeah, like I'm getting more into it, and I did kind of look up like now that the meta is out there, I kind of was like, okay, let me play the meta and see if that's fun, and I like it enough. So I pop on online every once in a while and see what's up. But went back to Monster Train 2, and that's always a problem because as soon as I pop open Monster Train 2, it's like, oh, okay, bye. There's like an hour and a half gone.
Deck builder boys,
dude, it's just so well made, and I got overwhelmed. I stopped playing it for a while because there's a certain point where you unlock a lot more characters that I was not expecting to be in this game, and I was like, oh god, this is like it is like the monster. It's like the Monster Train Ultimate, basically. It's very sick. I can't wait for Slay the Spire to be 2 to be out of early access, because that's when I'll actually like sit down and play it, because I just know it's also going to eat up all of my time. So I'm like gonna wait. But and then other than that, man, just Pocopia. Like I'm probably about 50 or 60 hours into Pocopia. I don't think I've rolled credits technically, but I'll just pop on and be like, yeah, I'll just fix a couple things. And then suddenly like 3 hours later, I'm like, because I'll just keep hopping between all my different islands and fixing a little bit here, a little bit there. Oh, I found like a mystery slate. Let me go put that in the slot where it goes in the first world. And I think I'm like 6 to 10 slates away from having that finished. I don't know. I've enough of the picture has come together that I think I know what I am going to get when I finish the mystery slate. I'll let that be a mystery for everyone else. But what a fantastic game. Like,
yeah.
I never got into Minecraft, but this is like the only way I could see myself getting into it is like having the IP, but then also just like fixing a world that already is there for you, but is like meant to be fixed, So it's just like really well designed. But that's about it. XanaGear, what have you been playing?
Pocopia is my primary game. I haven't really uploaded to YouTube in a while because I've been focused on game dev so much. But Pocopia made me want to do a weekly series playing Pocopia. So what I'm doing is I'm playing a bunch of Pocopia and then like showing off my island.
Cool.
In a weekly video. I've never felt this way about a cozy decorating game in my life.
Yeah.
I played a bunch of Animal Crossing. Like, I played like during the COVID. Like everyone else, I played like 100 hours of Animal Crossing, whatever. Never got to the point where I could even start decorating my island, really. I was still like in the core progression part. Stardew, I played a bunch, but I always stuck to the core path. Minecraft, I like decorating Minecraft, but again, I never got that far into anything. This game has got its hooks in me. Like I've never seen a game get its hooks in me like this. It's like playing Power Washing Simulator. You're just cleaning up the world. And wanting to decorate everything. But yeah, other than that, I only have one Switch too, and that's a real problem because my partner is more obsessed. She has more time in Pocopia than I do.
Right.
And while she's playing Pocopia, I'm playing Dragon Quest XI-S, which I put down on release. So I'm finally past where I left that game, and I'm in love with it. I love the style of Dragon Quest. And it's funny because Dragon Quest Builders, and I didn't even mean for that to connect with Pocopia.
Well, that's what you should start playing Dragon Quest Builders too on the Switch one to satiate.
Honestly, I played a bunch. I never played 2. I played 1. I never played 2. So that's honestly, yeah.
If you have any vouchers, it is voucher eligible. I've seen.
I don't. But yeah, and then other than that, I'm working on a game. That's what I do in most of my free time. I don't play as many games as I would like because I am working on a spaceship delivery game in Godot.
So is it like a Space Strand type game? You would say?
I would honestly say it's a Space Strand type game. Yeah. The main core thing that I will sell on is I want the money that you get for your deliveries. You have to transport it yourself, and losing your ship would mean losing all the money you have on you. So that's what I want. I'm making this game for me, and that's what I want in a video game. I want to lose all of my money.
Yeah.
Real stakes.
It looks really cool. Like we were talking a little bit before we started. I love the aesthetic of the game, and I love like space flight games where you've got a lot of that movement down in a really satisfying way. I'm a big space nut, so I'm definitely excited to play that. You have a itch page, correct?
Yeah, itch.io/XanaGear.
Awesome.
I'll have something up there probably in the next couple months.
Hell
to
yeah.
Look at.
Great to hear. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to play that. I think that's going to do it for this big ass episode of Super Switch Headz. Thank you so much, XanaGear, for coming on today's episode. Such a delight to have you as always.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Thank you very much to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to all of our wonderful patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to find me on the internet, I'm pretty much everywhere at Monolith Fiji.
You can find me at Bordan.
And what about you, XanaGear? Where can people find you online?
Blue Sky, not Twitter. The Twitter account on Twitter is not me.
Really? Yeah, your identity's been stolen.
Yeah, actually.
And that's just at XanaGear. .bluesky.social.
Yeah, it's XanaGear.com something.
Okay, hell yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a little awkward. Also, definitely check out XanaGear's YouTube page, as we said before, where there's lots of Pocopia videos at the very least going up. And check out the itch.io as well. Really great stuff. Always good having you on the show. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter and Blue Sky, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, that's switchheadz.com. And then also we have a Patreon, as we said before, a Facebook group, and a Discord. Join us over on the Discord. We have such a wonderful community over there. It's a great place to continue the conversation after the podcast is finished. It's a great place to play games with like-minded gamers and just hang out with a non-toxic group of people in this ever-growing, increasing toxicity that is being a gamer in the year 2026. You find the oasis over at the Switch Headz Discord. Join us over there if you haven't yet. Like we said as well, we've got a video version of the show. Please like and subscribe over on YouTube. That goes a really, really long way. Leave a comment for us over there. You can leave a review for us over on Apple or Spotify. I think you can leave comments on Spotify as well. But more than anything, share the show with a friend, and just if you're listening still at this point in the episode, we thank you very much for your continued patronage. That's going to do it. We got a great episode for you guys next week. We're going to be talking all about the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I'm very excited to get into non and spoiler sections of next week's episode. So don't touch that dial. But other than that, gang, you guys know the drill. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Make a tier list of all the best XanaGear games on itch.io. Fuck Ice, Free Palestine. We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.